Welcome to the Soul Driven Podcast. I believe that when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. If you are searching for meaning and purpose, if you are unsure about how to combine the spiritual with the everyday, if you are ready to uncover who you truly are, then you've come to the right place. The Soul Driven Podcast is dedicated to exploring the intersection of living a soulful and spiritual life in a driven and ambitious world. Join me for practical guidance, truthful discussions, and interviews with people who are successfully living a soul-driven life. My name is Anna Hendricks, spiritual guide, marketer, and your host. Thank you for being here. Welcome back, beautiful soul. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Anna Hendricks, spiritual guide, Akashic Soul Channel, and your host. And I don't know about you, but I cannot believe that November is like right around the corner. I know. What do we got? We got like 7 more days or something. Actually, I think 8. But I wanted to pop in here early. I wanted to just, share this episode with you so that we could prepare, so that we can get ahead. In addition, just a heads up that I am taking a hiatus from the podcast next week. That's right. There will be no podcast coming out next week unless something crazy happens. But let's just say no. Your girl I'm tired, Leading up to the launch of an Akashic Journey with Fear, Reclaim Your Life, which is kicking off this Sunday. By the way, you got 2 more days to sign up, 2 more days to register, 2 more days to join this epic journey to transform your relationship with fear. Take back your power, reclaim your life, learn how to use your voice, all the things. There's a lot going on. And I just needed some time. It's like, I didn't take a break from the podcast this year like I usually do. I've just kind of been going and it's been feeling good. And it's been like, I'm here, I'm flowing. I love to podcast. I really do. I tell people quite often, it's like, even if I was a multimillionaire, all right, I would still be podcasting. I would just be doing it on a much higher level, right? I could fly my guests in. We could have face-to-face conversations. I can hug and love on them. And that is a dream and it's only a matter of time. But for now, I'm still just recording. And yeah, I haven't really taken a break. So I will not be here next week, but I'm sure you're going to be just fine. We got we're almost at 200 episodes, folks. Can you believe that? 2 more and I'm at 200. That is so wild to me. It honestly feels like it should be so much more. But I'm happy, grateful, thankful for this journey. Podcasting is not easy. It's just not. This upcoming March will be 4 years of this. It'll be kicking off the 4th year of this. And even at this point in time, in my mind, I'm like, oh, podcast. All right, I got to get a podcast out. It's not that much work. And then I get into it and it is a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but I love it. Absolutely love it. All right. So November is my favorite month of the year. It's my birthday month. It is to me, the true autumn fall month. There's always been something really special about November to me. The kickoff of November is a very introspective time. And it's so wild that here, so many years later, it's like, oh, well, yeah, because we always start the month off with Scorpio and then we kick it into Sagittarius. But Scorpio is about the depth. It's about the deep. It's about going under. And of course, these things are aligning so beautifully with the November Akashic forecast. But I'm excited. I love November. I love it, love it, love it. My birthday is on the 27th, by the way. If you want to send me a happy birthday, I will take it. I will take all the love. Birthdays to me are honestly the major holiday outside of Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving simply because it's family, food, football. And I'm not a fan of football, but there's just something about your family, your loved ones all being together and you just eat food and there's no like expectation for gifts and all of these things. It's just like together time. And considering that my love language is quality time, I love the holiday. But outside of that, I'm honestly like not a holiday person. That's why if you follow me on Instagram or on social media, like I'm not one of these people who's like da 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 with the holidays. Like I don't really, it's, I think Christmas is great for kids and I enjoy Christmas time. It's not like I don't, but I'm just not a big holiday person. Outside of that, it's birthdays for me. I love, love, love birthdays. Love celebrating birthdays because they're all about you. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, everybody love on me today. And it's also the start of your own personal new year, which is a big freaking deal. So I love like setting aside time on my birthday, like marking my calendar off, taking time off so that I can really like journal, like be purposeful, like think into, and I usually do this kind of leading up to it, like really just thinking into the previous year, like what happened? What did I experience? What did I go through? What came up for me? How did I grow? You know what I mean? And then spending time on my birthday, like really getting clear about what I want to do in the next year. This year, I'm going to be having a natal astrology or like an astrology, like a solar return astrology reading, which I'm really pumped about. If you don't have an astrologer in your back pocket to do a solar reading on your birthday, highly, highly recommend. I'm just making that like a tradition for me moving forward. Like I want to know what's coming up in my transits. What do I need to be focused on? What do I need to be working on? Because, astrology is real. The movement of the planets is real. Okay. So many things today. So many things. All right. So a couple of announcements on the front. And first of all, like I mentioned, just 2 more days to register for an Akashic Journey with Fear, Reclaim Your Life. Y'all, I really should have named it Reclaim Your Life, an Akashic Journey with Fear. It always happens to me. Like when I get into marketing it and I get into writing about it again and again, then it's like, oh, this is going to be it already is such a powerful, powerful course. And if you are someone who, first of all, if you are a practitioner, if you are a therapist, if you work with people who are dealing with a lot of fear, this is a beautiful course for you to take so that you can dive into fear and have a spiritual understanding of what it is, that you can expand your ways in which to work with fear, the tools that you utilize with your clients. I mean, this is such an incredible course. And then of course, if you are also someone who, if you struggle with people pleasing, if you have a difficult time saying, this is what I want and going after what you want, like if you are not showing up the way that you want to be in your life, this is for you. It's called Reclaim Your Life for a reason. Fear takes so much from us. It shuts us down, keeps us small. And the world needs you to be big and expansive at this time. So we got a couple more seats open. Join me, sign up. We're already kicking it in the private community, getting all hooked up on Teachable. And also, if you haven't seen on Instagram, go check out on Instagram because I created this beautiful potion with Crystal the Oracle called Reclaim. And this is a gorgeous potion that her and I put together full of intentions and ingredients to just really assist us in reclaiming our life from fear. And there are endless ways in which you can utilize this potion. Again, go check it out on Instagram. I did a reel about it and you can kind of look into it more. I'm newer to potions, and yet I've been working with potions over the past several months, and I have been blown away at their ability to just really shift, change, transform energy. And so I know that it's the perfect complement. And guess what? This is an exclusive potion that's only available to the attendees. So this is like a little bonus thing that I'm just sending out to everyone to just ramp things up in connection to all the material that we're going to be diving into. So check that out. Second of all, the November events are up and live for you. I am hosting one Akashic Restoration Circle on the 10th. Remember, there are only 6 seats available. So if you want in on that, go in soon, because I've had a couple of people following up with me like, I want in, I want in. They didn't get a seat in either one of the circles in October. Both of those sold out. So make sure to grab one. And then also, if you are curious about the Akashic Records, if you have been following me, if you want to know more, I am teaching Access the Akashic Records on the 20th. All right. This is a gorgeous workshop about the Akashic Records, learning how to work with the Akashic Records. I teach, it's interactive, and then you will go into the Akashic Records yourself. This is such a beautiful tool. Plus, you get access to my private, the Akashic Record Collective community on Telegram. So you'll receive additional support, like continued support, I should say, and community, which is invaluable. One of the attendees actually just shared this morning about how she had a breakthrough with her practice. And it's just so cool. It's exciting. You're going to want to have community around you if you are learning how to work with the Akashic Records. All right, so let's dive in to the month ahead. But of course, we got to start by talking about the month that we're still in, yet we are stepping out of, October. The theme for October was excavation. And oh my gosh, if you were not excavating on one level or another, I just don't know what to say. Ooh, we still have our final lunar eclipse in Taurus, this full moon on Saturday, and it's going to be a banger, that's for sure. This weekend, in fact, is, I just want to encourage you to kind of keep the schedule light, be aware that a lot of emotions might be coming up, be curious and patient with one another. Whatever house that Taurus rules on your astrology chart is the house that it's going to be affecting. And you can look at your astrology chart and let's say, Taurus rules your 4th house. And you can Google online, what does the 4th house represent? And things like family and home and the internal self and all of these things. So you can kind of understand like, okay, this is where this is, connected to me. If you have planets in that house, then even more so. But please just know and just kind of prepare, not saying that it's going to be a negative thing at all, because I think that there's always positives and negatives to all things, right? Eclipses are about beginnings and endings. And since this is a full moon eclipse, we are really releasing in this one. The last eclipse for me, honestly, I didn't experience that much in the midst of it. It was an interesting time for me though, because it really sank into my body. In fact, honestly, I think it's something I'm still kind of sitting with. I've been traveling. I've had a lot of things going on, of course, leading up to, the launch of this course this weekend, and preparations and doing the channeling and all that stuff. So I've kind of been tapped out from the astrological energy. Yet, this past weekend, major release in regards to excavating some things within my body, soul, mind, spirit that needed to go. I'm curious how October was for you. I'm curious what things you may have excavated. You can always hop over to Instagram, hit me up, say hello, share with me. I'm always curious how other people are experiencing these things, right? It was a big month, and it's not over. We still have this final eclipse. So there's still a lot coming. I'm talking about it like it's over, but it's not. I want to say on the front end that, of course, the channeled Akashic forecast that we'll be diving into here in a moment, I had lost my voice. I actually lost my voice from the excavating that I was doing emotionally. It was a very intense time. I kind of talk about it more so when after the Akashic message and the breakdown, you'll hear more of kind of what I was going through and what was going on within my body. But so it's not as beautiful. I still don't have my voice back clearly, but I really felt called to channel that day. So I went with it. It's what I do. But know that October's energy is not something that we are fully releasing as we step into November. I talk about this a little bit in the breakdown, but the way that the Aries full moon kicked off the energy in October it's very similar to the ways in which this full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus is kicking off November. November is definitely going to be an eclipsey month. A lot going on, a whole lot going on. And just again, as we're leading up towards the end part of 2023, we are really being called into so much work. And one of the really beautiful things that the records actually pointed out in the November Akashic forecast, I'll just share with you on the front end. I talk about this a little bit as well in the breakdown, but they basically said, don't get caught up in everything that's going on out in the world, but don't step away from the fray. Do not hide from the fray, knowing that your freedom and absolution will come on the other side. That's exactly what they said. Such a beautiful and powerful, powerful line. When we think about the fray, it's not just what's happening in the external world. In fact, that's not what I feel like they were talking about at all, actually. That's not what, came through my intuition when they said that. What they mean by the fray is all of the hard work, all of the internal deep work, the shadow work that we are being invited into at this time. Face it head on. Remember that you are powerful, that you have all the tools that you need, that this life is yours. You are the creator. Do not hesitate to go to battle with what is coming up. And I don't mean that in go to battle with it. I mean you are equipped. Bottom line, you can handle it. You can absolutely handle it. I can tell you in the midst of my emotional excavation, it felt like I was breaking open into 10 different pieces. It was a lot of emotion coming up. In fact, I don't know that I've ever released that much emotion in one sitting at any one time in my life, at least not that I can think of. But oh my gosh, have I felt amazing since. And that's the thing, right? I've talked about a couple of times on this podcast about crying, right? Crying isn't maybe your favorite activity, but who doesn't feel amazing after you cry, right? So we got a big month ahead, but it is a beautiful, beautiful month. And I just want to encourage you to look at it as an exciting challenge. Again, remembering that you are equipped, okay? So if you are brand new to this podcast and this is your first monthly Akashic forecast, welcome, welcome, welcome. You can learn more about the Akashic Records in my mini-series, episodes 168 to 172. You can learn, what the Akashic Records are, my relationship with them, whole 9 yards. Suffice it to say, I access the Akashic Records for the listeners of this podcast. Whether you are brand new or you've been here since day one, this is for you. And because time doesn't exist outside of this planet in the way that we know it, anytime you feel drawn to come to this message, it will be relevant for you. I highly suggest revisiting this Akashic message anytime throughout the month that you are feeling lost, that you are feeling off-centered. One of the reasons that I share these, messages live in regards to how I'm recording them is because that energy transfers. And so it is alive and ready for you anytime you feel like revisiting it. And you can look at the show notes to find out where the timestamps are as well. So you can bounce right into that message anytime you want to listen to it. So, as I like to mention, the best way I love to listen to these is to put in some headphones, get into a quiet space, really sit with the message. allow it to just absorb into you. And then you can revisit it as much as you want. Please don't drive when you hear this. Again, sometimes the energy can be really impactful for folks. And don't forget as well that the transcript for this reading is also on my website. So I hope you enjoy it. Let me know how it resonates with you. Hit me up on Instagram or send me an email. All the links are always in the show notes. And I will see you on the other side. Dips and turns, dips and turns. Yes, we're coming at you from one direction and then another. Flipping the lid when you least expect it. Energies are rising to the surface now. Things are being expunged that must go. Waves come in to clear things out, taking with them all that is ready to go. For that which is taking place on Earth's landscape at this time must take place. We know that it's not easy for you to look around and to feel hopeful about being on the planet at this time, but we suggest and invite you to change your perspective, open yourself up, widen the lens from which you are receiving the outside world. No, we're not talking about involving yourself in it. Simply the ways in which you view it. Realize that things must crash and burn in order for them to be rebuilt. We know that we have said this many times, but it is so important for you to begin seeing things through new perspectives, a wider lens, a deeper leg in to the ocean, to the deep, to the dark depths that are beneath you. For they are all coming up now, coming up, to be released, expulged, purged from the planet. Even within yourself, you are feeling this. Yes, so many things that you thought were under lock and key are billowing their way forward, plunging themselves into your life so that you cannot look away, but are forced to stand here in the here and now, dealing with what is, what has always been, what was there before. For while some may say that you are solely dealing with the energies of this lifetime, no, in fact, you have brought so much in with you, which is why there is so much purging taking place. 2023, this is so much of what it was about, so that you could step further and deeper into yourself, into the who that you want to be. Haven't you dreamed of them before? What is it that they are doing? How are they spending their days? What kinds of people surround them? How are they in touch with the wisdom that flares up inside, that is always present, always here, always abounding? You must know, my dear soul, that every step that you take at this time counts. Therefore, wage it wisely. Do not go plunging ahead, but take one step at a time, ensuring that with each step it is assured, clear, marked, and you know the intent and purpose behind it. For there's going to be so much happening on the planet. As we have shared before, it will upend you if you do not stay focused and clear at this time. It's important for you to come into a different relationship with your energy, to understand its power and impact in your everyday and how you show up and how you experience your everyday. For energy is free, wild, vacant, and it can only come pillaging forward when you enable it to do so. When you are cautious about how much you push out, how much you take in, and you fortify yourself along the way, it's going to be harder and harder for you to forget about yourself, to put everything else in front of you. We know it's what comes most easily, but it's going to cause greater and greater suffering so that you might realize, redirect your steps, and move forward in a different way. Things are breaking and falling, they must go. Pay attention to what's happening in the news and on your planet, but do not allow yourself to get caught up in it, swept up in it. For you have a greater cause in mind. That which is yours is that which serves the planet most at this time. You will know what that is for you if you spend time in stillness and in moments. Know that this month is going to be different energy, different things happening and taking place, yet still much of the same. For it is shaking you up, swirling things around, ensuring that you begin to pay attention to what is in the here and now. You cannot look away. You must not look away. Bide your time. Sit in stillness. Get outside and be with Mother Nature. Wrap your arms around her. Connect heart to heart. Surround yourself with love and gratitude. Yet do not hide from the fray, knowing that your freedom and absolution will come on the other side. Yes, yes, it will come on the other side. All right. Coming on back. So, of course, on the front end, I'd love to know how this resonated with you. Send me an email, hit me up on social media at Anna Hendricks. Links are always in the show notes to make it really easy. But yeah, I'd love to hear how this resonates with you. This was such an interesting message because the day that I channeled it through, of course, you could hear the difference in my voice, but I almost considered channeling it again and kind of going back. I was wondering if it really aligned, and I let it sit. I gave it 24 hours. And it's funny because, like that happens every once in a while that I'm like, oh my gosh, was I okay? Did I channel the correct message? Is this good? And of course it always is. I mean, the records know what they're doing. It's even after several years of reading the Akashic Records, it's like, oh yeah, I don't have to push or pull or work to channel. I just have to show up and get out of the way. And they will take care of the rest. And they always do. They do it so beautifully. And I loved this message. And I'm interested to see what it is that we're going to step into in November, because while I felt like October was a bit more clear, I feel like there is more liminal space in November potentially, Also, I feel just energetically that there is a real lightness and a real excitement in November. Of course, we're going to be tapping into Sagittarius season, kind of, like 2/3 of the way through the month. And I'm a Sagittarius, very proud Sagittarius. But I love the Sagittarius energy. It always brings a lightness to whatever it is that is going on. And so I'm not sure if that's what it is, but when I channeled this through, I didn't see like a lot of visuals. I didn't feel into a lot of different things. The main thing that really came through for me just intuitively was that November is going to be a continuation of October's energies in a lot of ways. And of course, they say that towards the very end, but that was something that came into my awareness at the very beginning of this message was like, oh, this feels familiar. This feels like the energy that we've been moving through. And what's so fascinating about this is that, the Aries full moon is what kicked off the major October energy. And the very similar thing is happening with November as well. We've got the eclipse, full moon eclipse this weekend on Saturday. And of course, November doesn't kick off fully until Wednesday, but that energy, the ecliptic energy, is absolutely going to be felt into November, into a large part of November. And I believe there was an astrologer I saw the other day on Instagram who even said that the first new moon in November was still going to be eclipsey, I think is what she called it, which was so perfect. And so that interesting sort of liminal space that we're in right now, where we kind of feel like we're being carried. We kind of feel like maybe we're uncertain, maybe a little bit lost, maybe a little bit emotional. Well, definitely emotional. And emotions are another, they're also going to be a big theme this month as well. What's interesting when I think about this type of energy is that I think about what happens when we are left to stew. It's kind of like, I always used to say, my parents, when I was younger and I would get in trouble, they would like yell and scream at me, or like they would whatever. And I would just be like, whatever, because of course I reacted defensively to that. That was like an action type of environment. But if they would have looked at me and just said, Anna, I'm disappointed in you, and then walked away, ooh, that would have been hard for me to sit with in that space. Because, I might have felt like, very ambivalent, or, I can't think of the word right now, like very justified in whatever it is that I had done. But that would not last too long. And then I would have to start thinking about what the heck is going on and what I did, and start thinking about maybe the harm it caused. And that kind of a space is like the energy of not only what we've been feeling so much in October, but what we're going to be feeling more of in November. I'm sure you know what that space is. I'm sure that you have felt that at some point in time or another. It's like sometimes the stillness is the most difficult thing for us to deal with. I mean, how many people do you know that never stop moving simply because it's like they don't want to deal with what's in their head. They don't want to deal with the decisions that they've made in their life. They don't want to think about it. They don't want to go there. I know those people intimately. My mother's one of those people, and this is for a number of different reasons, right? Like the older generations, they didn't have the tools. And I'm so thankful that I have not only, I think, a much greater awareness, but also the tools, right? Like boundaries. And I mean, like all of these things, like understanding trauma. And these were not things that they had access to, right? And so I think that we see that a lot in our older generations. It's just like work, or move, like always got to be doing something. And even if it's not that extreme, I think still we really wrestle with that in-between place. We really wrestle when we don't know what's going on. And again, that energy is a lot of what I'm feeling into in November, at least the early part of it for sure, probably leading up until the new moon. I'll be curious to hear more about the astrology for November. I love tuning into the astrology podcast. It's like, like a 3-4 hour deep dive on the month, and I'm here for it. I love that long form stuff that I can nerd out on for a couple of days. But I really feel like, again, we're going to be in that space. We're going to be like doing those things. And in that liminal space for us, there's going to be so much that's coming up for us to consider, for us to take into account. Our ability to look away is decreasing by the day. It's just disappearing. We are seeing more and more clearly. And I believe that a lot of these liminal places, these like still places that come up for us, are for that reason. So that we will sit with, so that we will see what is going on, so that we will be forced into that place, because let's be honest, we would all again, I always go back to 2019. I was going like a million miles per hour. Everybody was. We were all going in our many different directions, and life was really fast. And then 2020, the brakes got put on for the entire planet, man. That's insane. Do you ever think back about that and just take that in? Just holy freaking crap, the whole planet was grounded. That's so wild to think about, right? And what it did to us. It's kind of like someone who is the overachiever, the overworker, and then they go on vacation and have a true disconnected vacation for a few weeks. They don't come back the same person. They're a different person because it's oh, a light went on and things have shifted. That is the process that we're in. We are in that shifting. We are in that changing. And that's it's within ourselves and also within the collective. But so much is coming to the surface for us to deal with at this time. It's wild to think about. Just absolutely wild. And we have to be patient in this process. We have to be hopeful. We have to really, really, really work with our minds. Really be purposeful and intentional about the things that we say, not only to ourselves, but to other people, to our children, to our loved ones. We have to be extra cautious around our loved ones, right? Because it's almost oftentimes we aren't. We treat them oh, well, they love me. It'll be okay if I'm just in a bad mood, or I'm, you know what I mean? Instead of how would you treat this if this was a friend of yours? How would you show up for them, right? We got to be aware of these things. We got to be cautious. So the excavation of October is going to continue into November. We must remember, and I'm so glad that they share this on the front end, everything that is taking place right now on planet Earth must, in all capital letters, must take place. Nothing is without purpose. Absolutely nothing. And while we look out at the world around us, we look at the conflict in Israel, we look at the Israel and Gaza, we look at all of these different things that are happening on the planet. There's some serious climate stuff happening. I don't know if y'all have been seeing. And we have to remember, especially if we're in the midst of being depressed and getting down, and please honor your feelings. This is definitely not about bypassing, but everything's serving a purpose. It can be tough to see the reality of our reality. But the Akasha really wants us to utilize this time to begin widening our perspective, right? To step out of the polarities that are on this planet, the binary thinking, right? The right, wrong, black, white, homosexual, heterosexual, Republican, Democrat, all of the things that divide us. We need to get smart. We need to back up. We need to realize there's always a third option and probably a fourth and a fifth. We're smart. We're extremely intelligent. Why are we stuck in two options? You know what I'm saying? We got to back out of that. We can't allow ourselves to get caught up in them. We've got to start asking ourselves when we see these major events taking place on the planet, what purpose may this be solving? We have to try and stay detached from what's going on. And I don't mean like emotionally detached, like, oh, I don't care. That's a different ballgame. I'm saying detached so that you can go about your life and take care of yourself without something totally like landing your plane, you know? And if a big event happens and it does land your plane for a bit, that's okay. That's good. That's human. That's all right. But we can't stay there because you and we serve a purpose on this planet. We're here to do things. We have to take care of ourselves. Everything must crash and burn to be rebuilt. I don't know what it is about humanity that we got to go around a mountain for 40 years before we learn a lesson. We got to get slapped upside the head. We got to have everything taken from us. We got to like go through like disease or the loss of someone before we realize like, oh my gosh, I loved this person. Or, oh my gosh, I should have been taking care of my body. Like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know why we have to go to that place, but that's just what it is. That's where we've been anyway. Hopefully as humanity moves forward and our awareness and consciousness grows and expands, we won't have to go through all these difficult things in order to learn a lesson. But that's what's happening right now on the planet. And it's going to be happening for the next couple of years, right? These things must crash and burn. So everything that is going to be exploding on the planet in one way, shape, form, or another is going to be because there's something that's not working there. And even if it doesn't make sense to you, again, try to widen that perspective. Try to open yourself up. Ask your higher self. Sit down, close your eyes, get a piece of paper, ask your higher self to come forward. Ask them, what is the purpose? If you have learned how to read the Akashic Records with me, utilize the Akashic Records for yourself. One of the coolest things that happened this month was I have a private community for any of the folks who have studied and learned how to read the Akashic Records with me so that they can receive continued support and share and whatnot. And several of the folks who signed up for the Akashic Journey with Fear course had went in and accessed their own records to find out if that was aligned for them. But also I had one of the students who she went and connected with her records first to channel about the Israel-Gaza conflict and see what they had to share. And then she listened to my message. And I loved that she did that. It made me so like giddy, happy with excitement. You have access to what's going on as well. Please utilize it, practice it, work with it. Come learn to read the Akashic Records with me if you want to. It doesn't matter how you do it, but start, because that wisdom that resides in me is also within you. So things must crash and burn to be rebuilt. We will have a lot more emotions coming up this month. They're going to continue. They're going to take us into that shadow work that Stevie and I talked about in the Q4 Astrology and Akashic Forecast. Highly recommend checking out that episode for sure. Definitely tune in. Shadow work, looking at the things that we are trying to bypass within ourselves. What behaviors do we want to pretend we don't have or look away from or be like, no, I don't do that. I was actually shown something and it was kind of intense, quite frankly. This month, just a week ago, actually, this person had said something to me, and I really disagreed with it. I was like, no way, I don't do that. And it was only like a week later that I actually did that, and I saw myself, and I was just like, whoa, I do that. I do that. oh, buddy, I do that. And instead of shaming and ridiculing myself or feeling guilty, it was like, okay, why do I do this? What's going on here? What am I, what is happening? Where does this originate from? That's one of the ways in which we want to work with these things that are going to come up out of the dark depths of us. I've gone through such a massive transformation over the past several years, from marketing CEO to spiritual guide. And in the midst of that time, the ugliest, darkest, worst parts of me have come to the surface. It was awful. These were parts of me that I didn't even know existed, that I didn't even I had never seen before in my life. And I've never been a saint, but holy crap. And I had to work through each and every one. I had to learn to look at it, to accept it, to ask why it's there, to try and understand it. And I got lots of work to do. We all got work to do. It's all good. That's why we're here, to do the work. But this is very much going to be a big part of November. And I think especially through the Scorpio season, that shadow work, when those parts of us come up or we see these emotions coming out. I had a huge emotional just outpouring over the past weekend to the point where I lost my voice. And it was massive. And I thought it was about one thing. And I realized the next morning it was about something completely different. This is we have to allow these things to happen. We have to give ourselves grace. And I'm so thankful for that massive just explosion, if you will, that happened. Because it was a lot of things that had been building up that really, again, needed to be excavated, needed to come out of my system. And it was not pretty, friends, not pretty. Thankfully, I was at home alone. But if this happens for you, please honor this within yourself, okay? It was interesting that they brought forward the fact that the things that we are purging right now aren't just from this lifetime. Because I very much have been feeling into this, again, this sort of energy. It's collectively, and I've seen this also with my clients as well, my Akashic clients. It's we are purging so much right now that is very karmic, that is absolutely from past lifetimes. The majority of us have spent hundreds, if not thousands of lifetimes on this planet. And we are releasing so much stuff, because we can't carry it with us. The planet can't evolve if we're carrying it with us, because guess what? She's purging too. She is excavating too, right? She's got her own karma, her own baggage, her own stuff. We all do. And that's why we got to release it. We got to let it go so that we can move forward. 2023, it's been the year of release. And it's so interesting when you consider what the 2023 Akashic Forecast theme is empowering the self. I highly recommend going back and checking out that episode, tuning in to the reading, especially before you hear the 2024 one. But man, it's wild to think about. How could we ever become empowered? How could we ever take a step forward without releasing? And so that is what so much of this year has been, because guess what? When 2024 hits and it's the year of the fire, the dragon, boom. We are stepping in big time. And I have done nothing but empower myself this year. And y'all, a lot of it has been painful. But here we are. Here we are. All the better for it. And of course, all this comes back to, in regards to the theme of empowering the self, but also this question that the Akashic Records have been asking us for the past several months. Who do we want to be? Who do you want to be in this time? Who do you want to be moving forward? Now is the time to get really clear on that. And I love these questions they asked. Haven't you dreamed of them before? What is it that they are doing? How are they spending their days? What kind of people surround them? How are they in touch with the wisdom that flares up inside, that is always present, always here, always abounding? How beautiful. Who do you want to be? It would be awesome to sit down with those questions, and you can find them in the transcript on my website. Sit down with those questions, man, journal, write out, haven't you dreamed of this person that you want to be before? What is it that they do? How do they spend their time? Who is surrounding them? You know what I'm saying? Get clear on that. Really take the time this month, because when we step into 2024, there's not going to be a lot of downtime, y'all. Not that it's going to be so fast that you can't see, but It's going to be a lot. All right. Every step counts right now. Every step. And I don't say that to overwhelm you. And I know that like even me saying it kind of overwhelms me a little bit, but we have to push back against that. Instead of us feeling fearful, let's get excited about it. Let's feel challenged in a positive way. Being like, whoa, every step counts. So that means if I want to heal myself, if I want to start taking better care of myself, if I want to, like that energy is here and it is supporting us. In addition, if we aren't being mindful and intentional about the decisions that we're making, then, a step could take us in a completely different direction. Potentially like a hand quotation wrong direction. There will always be a course correction, so we don't need to worry about that. But do we want to waste that time going back down that avenue again, taking that road that we've already been on, just because we weren't paying attention? Like, we've got to pay attention right now. It's huge. We have to go back to really focusing on that solid foundation so that we're not upended in all of the energy that's coming in this month. October was massive because such an ecliptic month. November is not going to, I don't feel that the intensity is going to be the same. I could be wrong. I feel like it's going to be intense in a softer way. And sometimes that's harder, right? That's like kind of what I'm talking about. But we got to lean on that solid foundation. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and find the podcast all about the solid foundation. All right. Energy. We got some other themes this month, okay, to really kind of focus on our energy. I did an energy workshop, and I've actually been thinking about how I can maybe like repackage this information so that I can put it out, because you just don't you underestimate how crucial learning how to work with manage your energy is. Everything is energy. And so like, honestly, our energetic hygiene, it's more important than even exercise. Like, it is massive. It's huge. We've got to prioritize how we spend it, how we protect it, and how we fortify it. All right. Energy is free while vacant. I loved that they said that. Like, it was just like, ooh, man, it felt good. It felt good. Every day we got to be working with our energy. Every day we got to be clearing our energy out, clearing our home out. You could do this in a shower. Like, there's so many different ways to work with energy. We've got to protect ourselves every single day, every single morning. And again, not protect ourselves from like the boogeyman or negative things, but simply to ensure that we are sovereign in our energy. And we have to fortify that energy. We have to take care of it. We have to nurture it. Yourself, another theme this month. You won't be able to forget about yourself this month. We are so used to putting ourselves on the back burner, like, holy freaking crap. I mean, like, especially if you are a woman, especially if you are a mother, especially if you are someone who works with people in service of any kind. Like, it's so easy, man. It's just way too easy for us to put everybody else forward. Well, guess what? That capability is it's also decreasing by the day. It is going away. And we can either start focusing on ourselves, taking care of our energy, taking care of our health, taking care of our mind, or we will be forced into that. It's going to happen one way or another. We can't do all the things, y'all. And here I am in the midst of probably the busiest month this year, trying to do all the things, and we could not do all the things. So, and, when I began this week, I knew that. And I was like, all right, I got to make sure I get outside. I got to make sure I do my meditations. I got to make sure I do X, Y, Z. I do these things. And I got to make sure I take care of myself, because the things got to be done. And sometimes we get into those spaces and things got to be done. But we can still prioritize taking care of ourselves in the midst of it. And we have to be able to do this not only for ourselves, but also to withstand everything that is taking place around us. Whether or not you realize it, whether or not you tune into the news, you are taking on the collective energy pretty much at all times. Because you're logged into your phone, you're logged into your laptop, maybe you're in the grocery store, you're talking to someone on the cell phone or on the phone. Like we are connected to the collective energy at all times. It's very difficult for us to be able to get into our own space. We got to take care of ourselves. We have to stay detached from the news and the exterior world. You know, like I spoke about, not from a place of uncaring, but just a place from, honestly, like a place of curiosity, a place of interest, kind of like, wow, that's interesting that's happening. I wonder why that's happening. Okay, interesting. I got to take care of this thing over here. You know what I'm saying? We have to stay focused on ourselves, right? The theme, the quote for this podcast, when we invest in ourselves, world benefits. If I could instill one thing in everyone, it would be the understanding that when we invest in ourselves, it is not selfish. It's not. It's not. And there's so much conditioning around that, right? But it's not. Do not hide from the fray. Yet, do not hide from the fray, knowing that your freedom and absolution will come on the other side. I love that the record said this. They were like, please, stay disconnected from things that are happening, but don't hide from the difficult stuff. Remember that your freedom, your absolution are on the other side. And what this means is don't hide from the hard work this month. Don't look away from your shadow self. Don't step out when there's a confrontation to be had. Don't allow yourself to get swept up in the fear and in the emotions and the intensity. Do the hard work. Do the uncomfortable thing. Show up for yourself. You are worth it. You deserve it. It's so important for you to do. So real quick, just some of the ways to manage this month. Of course, please, please, please get grounded, stay grounded. Number 2, work with your energy. Oh my gosh. Going back to pay attention to how you spend it, protect it every single day, and nurture it, fortify it, strengthen it, okay? If you need help with this, let me know. Reach out. I'm happy to send you some resources. Again, I'm going to try and think of something else. I had run that workshop, and I'm not gonna just talk this out loud with you, but I'm gonna come up with a resource for you because, again, we underestimate how massive this is. Number 3, stillness. Even though we're going to be kind of in this weird liminal space, please spend time in stillness by yourself. Get quiet. Go sit outside without your cell phone. Leave the electronics behind, or turn it off, put it in the other room, whatever it is, get still. See what's here for you. Ask yourself some questions, all right? Number 4, get outside. The more you can get outside, the better. I don't care if you live in a city or in the middle of the woods like I do, get outside as much as possible. It helps you in ways that are difficult for us to explain. We are in a body on this planet. Regardless of your starseed background or any of that stuff, you are in a body, a human body. And guess what? Your body came from the dirt of this planet. It is Earth. Therefore, it is important for you to connect with Earth. Connect however you can. Get outside. Number 5, self-inquiry. Going back to journaling about those questions, man. Maybe even in the midst of your stillness, sit down with your journal. Ask yourself some questions. Think about this year. How have you become empowered this year? In what ways have you become more empowered, And then finally, and this is an interesting one that came up while I was writing stuff down. Connect with a like-minded person who can be with you on this path, or find a community to connect with. It's important for us to be able to talk through the things that are going on in our life, to be able to be honest, to be able to show up authentically, and to be able to work through some of the things that we're experiencing. So I encourage you to reach out, connect with someone. Do the thing, y'all. Do the thing. Widen that perspective, Share your thoughts and ideas with someone else. See what they have to say. We don't have to take something in just because we ask someone's opinion. All right, beautiful soul. Thank you so much for being here and being with me. And here we go into November. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review on iTunes or Spotify. Share it with someone who can benefit from it. Make sure to join my email list for updates, promotions, workshops, all the things, resources. Oh my goodness. Sending you all so much love. Do not forget, you have everything you need already. Okay? Never forget that. Big love, big love. Don't forget, when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. Until next time.